"That's it, you macabre thing, you! Hold still!" muttered Rarity as she magicked the last black pearl into place along her ornate gown's hem. As ordered, the reindeer skeleton modeling the contour remained perfectly motionless. With the trim complete, Rarity stepped back and admired her hoofwork. "Oh," said Sally, "it's beautiful." "It is, isn't it?" said Rarity with a self-satisfied grin. "I've really outdone myself this time." The gown's innermost layer was spiderweb patterned black lace and fishnet, covered by several shades of black and purple satin. Black pearls and the occasional vivid amethyst accented the stems and trim. An ornate braided silver tiara sat with a large black diamond, and a matching set of silver shoes completed the ensemble. "Would you like some help trying it on?" Sally asked. "Most kind," replied Rarity. While Sally helped her into her masterpiece, Rarity airily inquired, "So, just out of curiosity, is there a pumpkin queen?" Sally paused in adjusting Rarity's tiara and cleared her throat. Well, not exactly, but..." She smiled nervously. Rarity raised an eyebrow as she stepped into the last silver shoe. "You? You're betrothed to royalty?" Her tone took a haughty, sneering edge. Sally wrung her hands together and stepped back. "Well, it's more of a ceremonial—" "I'm sorry, darling," said Rarity, magicking up a large pair of scissors, "but that simply won't do." She looked up at the rag doll, narrowing her eyes, and chuckled a sinister chuckle. A few minutes later, Jack's spidery skeletal fingers crept around the edge of the costume shop's door. "Sally? Rarity?" Jack half opened the door and popped his head inside. "How are things go?" Jack Skellington had overseen the year's most terrifying holiday more times than he could remember, but what he saw made his eye sockets widen and his jaw drop. Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Fluttershy cautiously trotted down the cobblestone streets of Halloween Town, looking at the freakish townsfolk with much the same worried expressions that the folk themselves wore. "This place ain't natural," said Applejack. "Every pony's got paws like dragons." "Yeah," said Pinkie Pie, "and they run on their hind legs. How weird is that?" She flapped her front legs for emphasis. "Eyes on task, girls," said Twilight firmly, looking over her shoulder at her companions. "We need to find some pony who might have seen Dash and Rarity. Wait, where's Fluttershy?" The three ponies retraced their steps, and soon spotted their arboreal ally back around the corner they'd just turned. Fluttershy was pressed up against a building's wall, anxiously half turned away from another animate tree. The creature was leaning against the same wall, propped up by a branch. Its knot-hole face wore a sinister grin. "Don't worry, Shy," shouted Applejack. "I'm coming!" Applejack galloped ahead of the group and skidded into a turn in front of the dark-barked tree monster. She unleashed an apple-bucking kick, made only slightly weaker by her straw-filled state. Small skulls and bones rained down like so many apples from the tree's upper branches. "Rah!" it groaned. "Right in the paraderm." The tree kneeled over, cradling its lower trunk with its limb. "Oh my," gasped Fluttershy. "Applejack, why'd you do that?" Applejack raised a stitched eyebrow. I was rescuing you?" Fluttershy frowned. "But he wasn't attacking me." "He wasn't?" "No, I was just telling him about our missing friends." "Then how come you were all cringing like?" Fluttershy's syrup-colored blush returned. "Oh, he also..." She turned partially away, her willowing mane of twigs half hiding her face. "Said I had nice branches." "It's true," groaned the fallen tree. You could be a model." Fluttershy's blush deepened. Fortunately, the rest of the group chose the moment to trot over. "Huzzah!" said Twilight. "The party's reunited. Now we need just to find Dash and Rarity." A husky voice from a nearby alleyway answered Twilight. "Way ahead of you." A pair of gleaming yellow lenses came into view first, followed by their streak-maned wearer. Twilight's expression brightened. "Dash, it's you!" "One and only," said Rainbow Dash proudly. The Pegasus still wore her Shadow Bolt's uniform, but the crude stitches were now small and neat, and the colors were more vivid, the blacks and purple abyssal, the yellow accents shining. She slicked back her multicolored mane with a front hoof. "Oh, and I went ahead and found Rarity for you guys too." "Really? That's great!" said Pinkie excitedly. "Woohoo!" cheered Fluttershy softly. "Lead the way, Sugar Cube!" added Applejack. Dash turned and took to the air, hovering along ahead of her four friends. A few blocks later, the ponies came to a stop at the front of a large crowd gathered in the town square. "Oh, cool! We're just in time!" said Dash. "In time for what?" asked Twilight, a note of suspicion coloring her voice. At the head of the crowd, an immaculately dressed white unicorn trotted up to the top of the wooden stage. She magicked up a pair of small objects and then let them drop before her. A bat bow tie and a lock of brown hair tied with a black ribbon. "Citizens of Halloween Town!" Rarity intoned. Her imperious voice echoed off the farthest walls. "This here Halloween shall be mine!" The assembled masses murmured in confusion, but the first to speak up did so in support. "I'm all for it!" shouted a grizzled old witch. "About time a lady gave it a shot!" "Pony!" bellowed a massive apron zombie with a cleaver buried in his forehead. "I really like her mane!" added a young trick-or-treater. "Rarity?" whispered Twilight in shock. "Dash, what's the meaning of—" Twilight turned to face her friend, but the Pegasus had taken off to fly over and stand at Rarity's side. "I brought them just like you asked, Your Majesty," said Dash with a brief bow. "Dash, no!" shouted Twilight. "Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal!" "Ah, my friends," said Rarity, casting a glance to the back of the crowd. "Join these humble townsfolk in welcoming their new ruler. Gaze in awe upon the Pumpkin Queen." Rarity indulged in a lengthy bout of malevolent cackling. "Ha, ha, I do not want to say I told you so," Sakura said between gasping breaths, "but Nimawama bina hibiyo." The zebra was galloping through the streets of Ponyville alongside Princess Luna. A huge stampede of wild-eyed costumed ponies was in hot pursuit, some of them carrying pitchforks or torches between their jaws. "Burn the witches!" shrieked a red-maned beige earth pony. Her pupils were as small as pinpricks. "New mercy!" added the twitchy green-maned pink earth pony next to her. "Spiders, spiders everywhere!" screamed their blonde-maned rosy friend, before collapsing and slapping at her conspicuously spider-free flanks. "We could not have anticipated this," insisted Luna. "It was just a simple energizing spell. Warrior unicorns used to use it all the time before going into battle." Sakura cast a sidelong glance at the alicorn beside her and raised an eyebrow. Luna winced. "Oh." The pair rounded a corner and barely skidded to a stop in time to avoid running into a wall of golden light. The blazing glow faded, revealing the imposing presence of Princess Celestia. "My dear sister," said the alabaster alicorn sternly. "Care to explain?" "Tell me again why we're hiding from Rarity?" asked Applejack, surveying the cluttered basement in which she and her costume friends had taken refuge. "I mean, sure she knows a little karate, but she ain't exactly what I'd call formidable. Couldn't we just, grab her and head back to Ponyville where things make sense?" Twilight Sparkle gasped. "Don't be ridiculous! We can't assail the Pumpkin Queen directly!" Applejack tilted her stitched burlap head. "We can't?" Twilight magicked up her staff. The gem on its tip glowed purple as she used it to draw shapes in the air. "Of course not! First, we have to get past her hordes of minions." Twilight drew a series of hostile stick figures. "Then, we storm her stronghold." She sketched out an ominous tower. "And confront her loyal second-in-command." Twilight added a tiny Pegasus on top of the tower. "And then we face the Pumpkin Queen." She doodled a quick portrait of her finely dressed friend. "You see?" "Oh my," said Fluttershy from the building's backyard. She had hunched over to peer into the basement's small window. That sounds pretty scary. Scary, but fun! Gawk, said Pinkie Pie. Applejack frowned. We gotta do all that? Most definitely, Twilight insisted. It's the only way. Well, if that's how it's gotta be, said Applejack, still clearly unconvinced. Excellent, said Twilight, her enthusiasm still at full bore. She turned to face the basement stairs. Come on, girls, it's time for some adventuring. She gestured empathetically with her levitating staff and strode forth. The Chicken and Scarecrow trotted into step behind the Wizard as she headed upstairs. The tree straightened and lumbered over to meet them outside. The potion-frazzled crowd of town's ponies clustered in small groups around Ponyville's town square, staring up at the sky and hooting, hollering, and stomping applause. Far above them a pair of blazing comets streaked through the night sky, trailing tails of shimmering light, one deep blue, the other gold-tinged pink. The orbs of light clashed again and again, battling like a pair of angry hornets. Each time the orbs connected, a burst of fireworks lit up the sky. All hail Princess Celestia! Shouted one group of ponies. Long live the knight! Answered another group. Pipsqueak briefly hopped into view near the center of the group, swinging a rubbery sword in his teeth. Pumpkins! Shouted a wall-eyed, paper-bag-clad gray Pegasus as she took advantage of the lack of lineups at the pumpkin chunking rings. Once a flurry of wild miasma gourds finished smashing into the area, Sakura peeked out from the mouth of the alleyway into which she'd run and cast her gaze skyward. I hoped it would not come to this, she whispered in awe, but such a sight one should not miss. Yeah, I'll agree it's pretty amazing, but sure I'm Twilight and Rarity and every other boy get back soon, yammered Spike as he streaked past at top speed. A few moments later, he completed a lap of the town and scampered past again. The glowing lights of the sky clashed again, and Sakura found herself joining the crowd in an awestruck "Oh!" as another starburst exploded into the sky. Twilight, Applejack, Pinkie Pie, and Fluttershy trotted up to the crest of a hill near the middle of Halloween Town and looked down the street. Ahead, dozens of ghoulish town residents were adding black and purple ribbons to street lamps and door frames, applying gemstones to jack-o'-lanterns, and otherwise decorating the town to match its new overlord's macabre yet fabulous sensibilities. In the middle distance, a tall tower loomed forebodingly. Said Twilight, tapping her chin with a hoof. They'll never let us pass. They'll know we're here to take down their new queen. So, looks like it's time for step 1. Defeat the minions. But there's so many of them, said Fluttershy. She scuffed at the ground nervously with her branches. Not to worry, replied Twilight. This encounter must have a secret solution of some kind. She began looking around, poking at jutting bricks with her staff and stepping firmly on partially dislodged cobbles. Maybe a shortcut or sewer entrance, she mused, mostly to herself. There's always a sewer entrance. Twilight's companions joined her in her search, despite the fact that they were clearly unsure just what they were looking for. Ooh, look! Said Pinkie Pie, pointing up at the sinister-looking wooden sign for the Black Dragon Tavern. A dragon! Roars! Where? Said Twilight and Fluttershy in unison. Twilight ignited her horn and staff and assumed a defensive stance, while Fluttershy seized up in fright and tipped over. The fallen tree squealed in panic as she tumbled down the steep hill like a rolling log, bowling over every Halloween Town citizen in her path. She finally came to a rest several blocks away at the bottom of a hill, a trail of dazed and senseless minions left in her wake. Ah, I guess that works too. Onward! The group trotted down the inclined street to join Fluttershy.